Hopefully you guys can hear me right now. Sorry we had to move to YouTube. WGMU is not currently on campus right now, and they do not have any sort of way for me to get in the studio. Please, anybody give me some sort of thumbs up in the chat if you guys can hear me, because I want to make sure my points today that I'm making are heard. But yes, somebody in the chat, please let me know if you can hear me. All right, I don't want to exceed any time limits or whatever. But regardless of that, welcome to the podcast, Reflection and Projection for Sports with Simon Burts. We thank you all for taking an hour out of your time and tuning into the show where we will be reflecting on and projecting 4 pieces of sports news, 4 different sports, entailing 4 of the biggest things happening in the current world of sports. Now, before we get into the fun, I do want to take a moment letting you all know I'm sending my prayers and condolences to the Loyola Chicago community as they mourn the loss of Sister Jean. She was an iconic figure, died at 106 years old in the Rambler organization. Man, she was iconic, going to all the basketball games, being a sideline cheerleader, just being a huge part of the 2018 NCAA Final Four run. She is going to be forever remembered in that community. Now, the show must go on, as we will start the show in just a moment with a joke, because part of the tradition in this show is that you got to start off with a joke. Please like the video. Whoever's in here, please like the video if you can hear me. Now please do it in the chat. All right. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Please get everybody in here. And here we go. So, the joke for today: which position in baseball is the best water boy? It's going to be the pitcher, you know? I mean, yes, it was obviously just intended. Okay, the first topic that we're going to talk about today. So, obviously, the Cubs took down the Padres last week 2-1 in a hard-fought wild card series. Yes, my prediction was correct. Let's break this baby down. So, the Cubs, as we all know, they're tied 2-2 with Milwaukee right now, going into Game 5 tomorrow night. So, my prediction at the beginning of this series was that it was going to be a hard-fought win for the Cubs in 5 games. My prediction was correct in the 2-1 over the Padres, but look at this. My prediction might be correct again. Who knows? So my initial thoughts after this series, first of all, after the Padres series, my goodness, how about that bullpen, man? Oh, my goodness. Game 1, there was a runner on first in the top of inning number 5. That was it. That very moment where there was a runner on first for the Padres, the bullpen went in there, gave up 0 hits in that game. So, just randomly, if you just randomly run into me in public or whatever, if you told me at the beginning of at the beginning of the regular season for MLB that our bullpen was going to have games like this where they don't give up any hits whatsoever, I would have said to you, buddy, I love your enthusiasm, but you need to go back and do some research. Because I didn't think that our bullpen was going to be this amazing this year. So with all this going down thus far in the postseason, the thing is, I've got faith in every one of them now. I have full faith in the bullpen. Seriously, they were easily the difference makers in that series. Look at Game 3 as well. They only gave up 5 hits. However, as we get into the divisional series, the Brewers are piling up on the Cubs. The Brewers outscored them 16-6 in the first couple games. Just the severe mistakes are coming in early on the games, just allowing them to capture early momentum. Basically, in the first inning alone, were half of Milwaukee's runs when they were at Miller Park. So obviously, in Game 1, we go to the error by Nico Horner, gets them in a 6-0 hole. Gets the Cubs in a 6-0 hole in that first game. Those kinds of plays, that's just something that you got to take out of your mind. You can't have those get in your head that fast. And you go to Game 2, same with Imanaga, exiting as early as the third inning. And looking back at the Padres-Cubs series again, I was super confident in our bullpen. Yes, unfortunately, our pitchers have been pulled early, but I'm not terribly worried about our starters getting pulled now. Look at how our bullpen's been doing. Especially if that bullpen had done what they did against San Diego in Game 1 and Game 2, the pitcher outcomes wouldn't have been that big of a concern for us. Look at Matthew Boyd last night. That guy was pulled in the 5th inning, but I wasn't concerned because I knew our bullpen was going to go in there and take care of business, working off a 3-0 lead. And just the pit. But however, this is the first game in the whole postseason where the Cubs have been able to put up 4 or more runs in any game. 5 or more runs, excuse me. They had not been able to put up 5 or more runs in a single game this postseason. I mean, the pitchers on this team are great, especially the bullpen, but the run support is what they needed, right? The run support is so big in the postseason. Got to give it to them. It's just because the pitching is such a key thing. The pitchers work harder than ever in the postseason. Are you kidding me? Then as we go into Game 3 and 4 at Wrigley, the tables completely turn. Cubs put on the early offensive production in Game 3. The Cubs of all teams. Bush with a bomb. Crow Armstrong with a 2-run single. Wild pitch to bring in Happ later on. Look at this. Tyone got the job done, man. We're now going to go to Jameson Tyone's stats here. Let's go on to ESPN here where they're going to have all the live stats. As Tyone in the last game, is in Game 3, pitched 4 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 earned runs. And 1 walk, struck out 3 batters. So, not too shabby, The Cubs, so it's just, you cannot forget about the bullpen as well. You cannot forget about the bullpen just yet. All right? They made their comeback, gave up only 2 hits through 5 innings in that third game. I mean, look at this. This bullpen's really onto something. That consistency's starting to hit as we go about the postseason. Let's go to last night. Starting the night off, my reaction was priceless. A bomb from Ian Happ to right field, making it 3-0. And y'all, Matthew Boyd looked really, really sharp. He really did. Matthew Boyd looked very sharp last night. And even though he got pulled in the 5th inning, look at this, 4 2/3, gave up 2 hits, struck out 6, and walked 3 batters. No runs, no homers, any of that. And then, through 4 1/3, after Boyd gets pulled, 1 hit. The bullpen gives up 1 hit. That's a 3-hit shutout for Cubs pitching. And yes, even though we're not the biggest strikeout team, we are finding ways to keep our opponents off the board. Just one of the biggest factors is pitching. I know I keep saying it in the postseason. And as the game goes on, Shaw gets an RBI knock, Tucker with a bomb, Bush with a bomb. Cubs go on to win 6-0 to force a Game 5 back in Milwaukee. And even though the Cubs have turned the tables, we got to talk about just Jackson Chourio. We got to talk about that hot-hitting kid on the Brewers right now. He's gone 7 for 17 at the plate with 6 ribbies. Cubs have had a tough time stopping him in this series. And he's fast. He's a power hitter. Has that much of a better eye for the plate during ABs now. And the Cubs, they've got to figure out a way to stop Chourio now. He might be a threat in Game 5, especially after what he did in those first 2 games at home. They have home field to the Brewers in this final game. We don't know what the pitching matchup is quite yet. I know I've been all out preparing for this podcast lately. I just haven't had all the time in the world to look up and analyze the pitching matchup. So I'm pretty sure the pitching matchup's going to be good. I know for a fact Boyd won't be the starter. Duh, he started last night. But Chourio is going to be a key player. And it's just, he's going to be a key player to watch out for tomorrow night. So going back now to the Cubs, yes, I'm definitely nervous about tomorrow night. We have not performed as well on the road. But, you know, I always have faith in my guys. I really do, just with the current momentum in this series that we have. And because many of these guys bring in lots of playoff experience. Playoff experience in sports is the number one thing when it comes to this time of year. And that experience it's just, even though you got the experience, it's going to take 9 innings, guys. It's going to take that team effort. And it's most likely going to require serious strategy changes throughout the game. As the tensions keep rising, most likely someone is going to have to eventually be that guy that steps up in the big moment and deliver. Because I expect my score prediction, I say the Cubs take it like 3-2, but still, I think pitching's going to be a big thing. Obviously, Nico's been doing a great job. Went 3 for 5 yesterday. He's getting on base. Bush didn't have the greatest wild card series, but my goodness, he's pouring it on now. A couple bombs in the last couple games. But regardless there, we're going to move on to the next topic. And here we go. So UCLA shockingly takes down number 7 Penn State, 42-37 in a Pasadena thriller last weekend. I know it was last weekend, but I've got to use this game as one of the topics because it's just that shocking. It's Penn State losing to UCLA. So, you know, first thing I want to mention is the lack of preparation. Defense not being able to get off the field, a fumble to start the second half while being down 27-7. I wonder, you know, think about it. If you're thinking about it from the standpoint of, oh, it's the first play at the end of the half being down 20 points, what was that talk in the locker room? Overall, just lackadaisical play from Penn State all around. And just obviously as the head coach and players, the most important thing after a game like this is to hold yourself accountable for the mistakes you made, right? And, I mean, there were lots of little miscues here and there. I know I didn't watch the full game, but I watched the highlights. But there were so many little miscues in that game that it's just that nobody saw coming at all. Nobody saw these miscues coming. I think this is one of those games that you can't just go on ESPN and look at the stats. You have to see it from the bigger picture. And from what I'm seeing and from what I understand, they looked very unprepared for this game. And yes, after listening last weekend to Coach Franklin in the press, just talking about how the team did not handle the Oregon loss well 2 weeks ago. Oregon was a hard-fought game, 34-27. It really says something. Penn State was favored by 3.5 points for the Oregon game, but the thing is that regardless of who you lose to, it's the coaches and players' role to hold themselves accountable for the mistakes that they did. It's so essential to go into every week ready to practice and prepare their butts off. I'm just going to say this right now. It does not matter if you are playing against a 4-0 team or an 0-4 team. You still need to practice with the same intensity every week, regardless of the expected level of competition of your opponent. Period. It does not matter if they're 0-4 or 4-0. You've got to go in there with the same level of intensity. That's my number one point for this topic. And going on with it, yes, these students made this commitment before coming here, right? Look, all these recruiting, visiting during the evaluation period and all that. It's Penn State. They knew what the expectations were coming into this program. They are bound each year to be a top 15 school. Look at this. Them and Texas are out of the rankings now. You've got to put in the work at your best effort possible every single week in season and off season. Because this is something a handful of these guys work their entire life for. And what I saw last Saturday was a bunch of young men who just did not care about their craft. They clearly were not ready. And even if you are Ohio State playing someone like UCLA who was 0-4, if you're not prepared, they will beat you. End of story. They're going to beat you, even if they're 0-4. It does not matter. You've got to prepare the right way. And now, as we look ahead this week, they are back at Beaver to host Northwestern. I'm not 100% sure, but Northwestern might have some confidence. I'm not 100% sure, but they might have some confidence going into this game. It's just they know what happened to Penn State last week in that UCLA game. And what's going to catch my eye when it comes to Penn State, how have they handled the UCLA loss? I know they didn't handle the Oregon game. I know they didn't handle the Oregon game very well, but how did they handle the UCLA loss? That's what's going to interest me. If someone out on the street asks me randomly to predict how Penn State's going to do tomorrow, my answer is going to be, I think their game preparation for this week is going to determine a lot. Because after a loss like that, the pressure is on you to be able to overcome adversity. Period. Now, as we look at the schedule, we're going to go on ESPN again or whatever. We're going to go back and look at their schedule. Obviously, they've got to play Northwestern tomorrow at 3:30. Then they got to play. They've got to play Iowa. They've got to come. Then they're coming to the Shoe. That would have been think about it. I thought that was going to be the game of the year. Penn State, Ohio State. I've got second thoughts about that now. Then they got Indiana. Watch out for Indiana's defense. If they're playing like they have all season, that's going to be a tough game for the Nittany Lions to get back in the rankings. And just like if Penn State specifically is going to get back to where they need to be, not only do they need to demolish their opponents because points count in the rankings on the AP poll, but they got to be more consistent, especially when it comes to elite opponents. I mean, before we go to the next part, let's go to the other parts of it. Weeks 12 to 14, at Michigan State, hosting Nebraska, and then at Rutgers. So there's a few games in there that are going to be must-watch. And I'm not kidding you, especially Indiana. That's going to be a must-watch game for me. And then just college football is known for good offensive units. Look at how many points sometimes look at how many points some of these teams put up on a consistent basis. 75, 77 points, it's incredible. But the main thing to keep an eye out for this next week is, how can Penn State recover from the embarrassment from last week? Just what sort of game plan do we have for this weekend? Because preparation, once again, it's one of the biggest factors that can determine how a team performs in the game. Preparation. You learn that from the start. Preparation. You just have to do it, regardless of your opponent's record. You've got to practice with the same intensity level. Self-explanatory. So, now, the next topic, I have been meaning to talk about this on the podcast. This has been buzzing around sports lately. But from time to time, there have been many discussions around the WNBA regarding the officiating performances throughout the 2025 season. Not just that, but in the playoffs as well. I know that this is a reflection and projection show, but mainly I'm just going to reflect on everything that's been happening, because there's a lot of this topic that we got to go over. So the first thing that I want to know is, first off, think about it. Think about it from the referee standpoint. What was the inspiration behind this? Like, why are the refs making calls that upset Caitlin Clark directly? Is there a specific reason why they are calling the games the way they are calling them? I mean, think about it. If they're saying, "Oh, tensions can add on to the fun," no, that's not an excuse. Come on. It's a real job, but if I had to guess, somehow the WNBA refs, think about it, those are not their full-time job. However, the other reason could be that the level of physicality they are seeing on the court is okay. It's just that they think the level of physicality they're seeing on the court is okay. I got some examples here. Caitlin Clark getting hit in the face and shoved to the floor, and the two players committing the fouls only get technical fouls as opposed to flagrants. Sophie Cunningham getting bumped and falling to the ground, no call. Nafisa Collier gets tripped on the back of the leg and falls down what turns out to be a grade 2 tear of 3 ligaments in her left ankle, no call. Come on, you got to keep the players safe, period. The kinds of plays we have seen this season are dirty and can sometimes severely hurt somebody. The number one priority as an official is to keep the players safe, period. And not just to make the right call, but you got to keep the players safe. I also read this article on ESPN, and it says the referee operations committee found that allegations that officiating errors have led to more injuries were unfounded. Very interesting. However, a handful of the biggest stars in the league, like Caitlin Clark, have been constantly complaining about the poor reffing performances that they've been putting on the floor. And also referring back to some of the press conferences, especially Collier and Coach Reeve, talking about how the leadership in officiating needs to change. I totally agree with them. Just going back to watching some of the footage from earlier in the year, and it was just pure shock. Just pure shock in some of these decisions made by the refs. Go back to where Cunningham got absolutely bumped in the elbow. Where was this ref? happened right in front of him. Right in front of him. He could clearly see that that was an illegal play. As officials, especially at that level, we should not be missing blatant and obvious fouls like that can seriously hurt somebody. I mean, come on. I've reffed for George Mason intramural leagues for 3 semesters now. It's all fun and recreation. For example, think about it. It's the first level of reffing. You know, these first levels of officiating, this is where you learn about the safety fundamentals in officiating. These refs in the WNBA are clearly not giving boundary lines on the court. Yes, professional leagues are bound for physicality, but when players are getting hurt because of bad officiating, a change in leadership is absolutely necessary. Come on. I was hoping that when all of this chaos with officiating started, the refs would be able to recognize right away. I wish they'd be able to recognize right away that they were making these mistakes. I mean, they probably knew something was up, but clearly they didn't fully believe that it was as big of a problem as they thought that it would be. And Collier talking about how the human element is what she truly believes defines what a leader is. I think she's right. The money is one thing, but the person you are and how much you care about what you do for a living or in your job is at least 100 times as big of a priority compared to the profit and compensation. I know I love money too. And I know you viewers in here love money too. But what I'm not going to do is, even if the job pays really, really well, but people at the job don't take it seriously, and if people are being rude and lazy, I'm just not going to do it. The people make so much of a difference. It's the biggest factor in the workforce, period. Fundamentals of being in the job force. These refs chose to make this commitment to work here. They made these life decisions. Might as well try and actually care and keep the players safe and happy. These players are dealing with officials at this level, the WNBA, who are making wrong calls based on possession, safety issues, etc. It most likely makes the job that much more difficult. You probably have players saying things like, "Coach, what can I do differently?" You know what they're going to say in the press? And anything like, "Hey, coach, what can I do? What can I do to get better?" If it's bad reffing, they're going to say nothing. And coaches, I guarantee you, are going to get tired of that. Now, as we go into the finals and off season, let's first see if something happens in the finals. But, you know, as we go just overall into the off season, if they are truly going to make a change in the officiating leadership, they have roughly 200 days to make that change before going into May 2026 when the season starts. Here's what they could do. They could implement better trainings and provide more resources for the refs, or a multi-stakeholder task force, for crying out loud. I don't know what they're going to do. Just anything that's going to help them improve. Doesn't matter who. What matters is that they call the games the right way and keep the players safe. Period. End of story. So I know it's not been the most glamorous podcast. I know there's been a lot of criticism going on in the sports world right now. But we're going to go into this final topic with a little bit more positivity. The NHL is back. The NHL is back. It is in full swing. Regular season has started up once again. You know, I was at that Caps game on Wednesday. Obviously not the start the guys in DC rocking the red were looking for. Bruins, Jeremy Swayman, what a performance between the pipes. 35 saves and a 3-1 victory for the Bruins. So here's what I think happened. When I was watching the game, it was just opening night. The Caps were playing real scared in the attacking zone. They had quite a few quality chances. I mean, if it was the playoffs, they would have scored, but they had chances to finish. If you were at that Caps game or watched it on TV, you knew that, oh my goodness, they had quite a few chances to finish those. They were playing real scared. Yes, I am a Caps fan. It was kind of frustrating, but at the end of the day, there's 82 games in the season. They have a long time and a lot to build on. Now, some of the other games. Battle of Alberta on opening night. How about that? Flames beat the Oilers 4-3 in a shootout Wednesday thanks to Nazem Kadri, the 35-year-old. Hey, fun fact, he is the first Muslim to win a Stanley Cup, by the way, all the way back in 2022 with the Avalanche. Wednesday night, he wasn't even suspended for once. I mean, he's been suspended, 4 or 5 times in his career, 6 times, who knows. But Leon Draisaitl picks up goal number 400 in his career despite the loss on Wednesday. I mean, my goodness. He was a key player to watch last season. One of the best passers and scorers, and also nothing like having Connor McDavid on your team. The best player on the planet, according to the one and only PK Subban. And then let's go on to the next game. Kings take down Vegas 6-5 in a shootout. I mean, that was another great game. Thanks to Adrian Kempe and Trevor Moore. I mean, you got to love Rivalry Wednesday. You go to the other game, Canadiens-Leafs. Another great game. 5-2 win for the Leafs. Just everybody trying to start the new campaign off on the right foot. This is just one of those times. It's October. It's just one of those times where everyone is just trying to figure things out, trial and error, and not 100% sure what the starting lineups are going to be closer to the end of the season. Like, think about it. It's October. March or April, who knows what's going to be the starting lineups in these games. But, my goodness, we have some early rival games, which is hopefully going to set the standard for a great season ahead of us. Stars Avalanche, that should be good. Kings Jets, that should be good, especially after that shootout win for the Kings. They're coming into Winnipeg, hopefully, potentially with some confidence. I mean, they are playing against arguably the best goalie in hockey, in Connor Hellebuck. Canucks Oilers, that could be good as well. Just saying, man, hockey is back. Whatever we get to see, the environment, the physicality, the immersiveness. I mean, can't forget about the scraps, man. Big reason why people love watching hockey and going to hockey games. It's the fights, it's the haymakers being thrown. I mean, the other night, it looked like for a second Tom Wilson was going to get into one, but he must have learned. Who knows? He's still playing in the league. And so, just exciting time of year. Got some of the most unpredictable games and teams every single year. Go back to 2023, man. Who thought the Panthers were going to be in the Stanley Cup final? They were the 8th seed going into the Eastern Conference playoffs. And they make their way and beat the Hurricanes in 4 games and go on to the Stanley Cup final. And now, all of a sudden, we're here in 2025. They have 2 cups in a row. So now, as we make some predictions when it comes to how teams are going to start off this campaign, let's talk about some of these roster additions and changes. First, we got to do the pretty obvious Keandre Miller to the Hurricanes. That is, I think, in my opinion, that's going to be easily the biggest roster addition in the league this year. With a team like this and a fierce coach in Rod Brind'Amour, you're always going to be finding ways to beef up that defense. I know you got guys like Jacob Chatfield, Shane Gostisbehere, Jacob Slavin, and Alexander Nikishin, but adding the St. Paul native Miller is going to add on to the depth that they already have on the defensive units. I mean, look at Keandre. He got the job done on both ends of the ice last night in that win against the Devils. 2 goals. I'm excited to see what he's able to do after signing that 8-year deal for $60 million And I'm excited to see what the Canes do once again. I think they're going to be – it's going to be – once again, I think they're going to be a team that's going to be in at least the second round of the playoffs. It's going to be a dangerous team, assuming that the squad stays healthy throughout the whole season. And then the infamous Mitch Marner to the Golden Knights. Huge move by the Leafs. Trading him away as they bring in, the Maple Leafs bring in Nick Waugh, who is most certainly a two-way player. He's a great player to watch. Now, that core on the Leafs, yes, they've consistently made the playoffs, but they have had, yes, they've had one of the more dangerous offensive units in hockey, but constant first-round exits, man, by the Leafs. It just played a big role, just consistently losing in the first round. It does not matter if you score, that's Austin Matthews, it doesn't matter if you score more than 60 goals in a season. If you are not prepared for the big games, the other teams are going to beat you. It's just going to the Bruins series, and Montreal, especially the Montreal, blowing these 3-1 leads, anything crazy. And just overall, the Leafs have felt like the Matthews, Marner, Nylander core has not been working the way they have wanted it to, especially in the postseason. I mean, I think the Leafs need to find some way at the trade deadline and trade up to get a guy they need position and mechanics-wise that they can win, like that can win the big games and deliver consistently on both ends of the ice when it matters most. I mean, it might be hard to do that right now. I mean, the Leafs, looking at their salary cap, $22,000. Not a ton of salary cap, and also looking at some of these other teams at $2, $3, and $4 million. And Marner, he's a key offensive guy for the Knights now, adding to that powerful offense of Jack Eichel, Pavel Dorofeyev, Mark Stone, William Karlsson, and company. But a guy like Marner, they picked him because they believe they can win another cup with him. Yeah, Vegas believes they can go in there and win another cup. They think that Marner is a guy that they can win a cup with. But yes, they lost a hard-fought game to the Kings in a shootout. It's a long season. Beg your pardon. The last trade, Noah Dobson to the Habs. I know it's not easy for them to get him. I know that Noah Dobson, that's going to eat up their cap space for sure. But he's a guy that is worth getting, especially because they want to make deeper runs in the playoffs. We cannot know for sure, though, if Dobson will be that guy. I mean, he was with the Islanders. I mean, the Islanders offensively, not the best year. They were awfully struggling last year. But now Dobson is in a new place where he has alongside guys like Arbor, Zekaj. Sorry, that's a hard name to say. And then they got Lane Hudson. But Dobson from last year might carry to this roster. Who knows if he's going to have that feeling of needing to do more than expected for the defense with the offense the Islanders had last year. Nevertheless, it's going to be an exciting year. The Habs are 1-1 after the win in the Motor City, 5-1. Long season ahead. Lots of time to clean stuff up. Excited for what's to come. As much as we want to say more, we have to conclude the show there. Thank you all so much for tuning in. See you all next time.